You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And away we go on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma, and I was so fired up to be back on the air with you at a couple of days away for a family wedding, but was so fired up to talk some Tigers baseball. And then I watched the game. Another disappointing, really, really bad loss any way you slice it. The Marlins win this 1-0. And we're going to break it all down like we always do. But we've seen this movie before. It's a brilliant start by Reese Olson, wasted by the Tigers' inability to even sniff a run on the offensive side of things. And we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. But fired up to be back with you on the air. Before we go any further, thanks for making Locked On Tigers postcast your first listen at the conclusion of every game every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As I mentioned, my name is Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. Although talking about this Tigers team, you might want to unfollow me. I was formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, now the host of Locked On Tigers postcast. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to grow and grow. And like I mentioned, fired up to be back on the airwaves. Had a family wedding over the weekend, a little traveling, but did not miss a thing. Followed every single game as always. And tonight got the chance to sit down, watch the game, take all my notes, and it was absolutely brutal. But today's show made possible by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And pro tip, just pick less on the Tigers' projected run total every game, and that's an easy way to guarantee a win. But here we go. Tigers lose to the Miami Marlins 1-0. Another brilliant start by Reese Olson down the drain because this offense can't score runs. They are terrible. Every single hitter is to blame. The front office is to blame. It's a tired bit. It's a broken record. I'm sorry. And I wasn't on the air over the weekend, so maybe this is it's new in some sense because I haven't yelled and screamed into the microphone in a couple of days here. But Scott Harris, I hope you're happy. You've got an awesome pitching staff. You've got a great bullpen. You've got a team that, and I know they've had their struggles at times defensively, but tonight was a great example. You lost to the Miami Marlins 1-0. The Miami Marlins, a team that hadn't earned a shutout as in a winning effort in the entire 40 plus games they played this season. Let me try saying that again, because that was brutal to listen to. The Marlins, this is the first shutout win they've earned. The Tigers are the first team to be shut out by the Marlins this year because they're a terrible baseball team. And I believe that's just their 12th win of the season. And the Tigers have a way of just making the opposing pitcher look like a Cy Young candidate every single night because that's how bad the offense is. And Scott Harris told us, don't you guys root for winners? And we're not there yet. It's not time to win. It's time to have a terrible offense. There was money to spend, but Chris Ilitch and the ownership of the team and the front office said, no, I don't care if there are bats out there like Chapman, like JD Martinez, and I'm not saying they're world beaters. That would have solved all these issues. The issue was this front office looked at this team and said, we'll be fine. And this team has now been shut out for what feels like the 15th time this season. They lost another 1-0 game. They've lost half a dozen 2-1 games. And it's the same story over and over and over again. And I don't know how else to say it any other way, but this was a horrendous loss to a horrible baseball team while wasting another brilliant start from a talented young arm. And that is the entire season in a nutshell for the Detroit Tigers right there. You can even, if you're watching on the YouTube and you sign off at this point, I don't blame you. If you're listening on the audio version on podcasts, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and you shut off at this point, I don't blame you because that's what this team is. That's their identity. And in mid-May, here we are. We know what this Tigers team is, and it is a dang shame. Let's get to some comments. Born Cool says this offense stinks. That's putting it mildly. That's actually putting it nicely. That's a compliment to this offense, saying this offense stinks. And I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for you and I, because this team isn't far away, and the pitching staff has the makeup of a really good team, a competing team. And I know the AL Central is wildly better than anticipated this season, but any given night with this pitching staff, you feel like you have an opportunity to win the game if you have a not even average, we'll even say below average, anything aside from a putrid, horrific, worthless offense like this Tigers offense is. So once again, the final 1-0. And when it's a close game like this, it goes to extra innings. So just a little look at how the sausage is made. I'm trying to dial up how many times the Tigers have been shut out this season, how many 1-0 games they've lost, how many 2-1 games they've lost, while trying to make the graphics. And it's a long-winded way of saying I've got nothing as far as a reassurance that, oh no, they'll be just fine, or maybe that's too negative of a take, but I always 100% insist upon transparency, honesty, and everything else. And that's how we should all feel right now. We should all be upset. And let me pump the brakes a little bit, because I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I'll tell you how I feel. I'm upset with the front office. I'm upset with Scott Harris. I'm upset with ownership. And you feel like they don't care about winning. They're not serious about winning when they trot out Javi Baez. They trot out this offense day in and day out and say, yeah, we'll see what happens. But we've seen what happens. We've seen this movie before. We know how it ends. The pitching goes out, does their job, and there's zero support. Reese Olson, and I do have to look down and cheat on my notes here a little bit, because I made sure to bookmark it. And I want to give Chris Brown credit from Motor City Metrics. Great follow on Twitter if you don't follow him yet. But Reese Olson's run support by start, this is insane. 0 runs, 2 runs, 0, 1, 0, 1, 4, 0. 8 runs of support in over 47 innings. That's insane. 8 runs of run support in over 47 innings for Reese Olson. That's 1.5 runs per 9 innings. So Reese, all you got to do is just go. And tonight, 8 or whatever it was, 7 2/3 wasn't enough of shutout baseball, because the Tigers offense decided to make Ryan Weathers look like the next Cy Young. He went 8 scoreless. Reese Olson he threw 8 innings and did not allow a single run. 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, 0 walks. He was spectacular. But up and down that batting order, a lot of goose eggs. We can break down specific at-bats starting in the 10th. Torkelson was, with a runner on second, pops out to third. Just when Wenzel Perez finally broke up the perfect game in the 6th, what did the very next batter do? Javi Baez. Oh yeah, a routine double play. So it's frustrating. I don't know how else to phrase how disappointing tonight was as a fan of this baseball team, a fan of this baseball club, and I don't see any signs of it getting any better. This is who this team is, and we can get on these live postcasts and riff and raff about how much we hate it, but I don't see anything changing because of the way this team was constructed, and it's a bummer. I don't want to spew nonsense and say, oh, things can turn around, because I don't see that. I don't see that happening. And it's a bummer because the summer is so early. It's May, and we have one of the hardest teams to root for. My brother texted me right before I went on the air. This team is hard to watch. They're hard to root for, and it's sad. If you like baseball, and you felt like this team, with some of the excitement in the month of April, were kind of sniffing being a competent, competitive team and could maybe hold our interest throughout the summer, but I'm not there yet, and I don't know how we get there unless things drastically change from the offensive side of things, because once again, it was fingernails on a chalkboard. That's what this offense sounds like. I don't know what the visual component of that, or visual equivalent of that is, but watching this offense day in and day out is just going to take years off your life. So we'll talk more about Reese Olson's brilliant outing and then break it down with our studs and duds as we continue on this edition of Locked On Tigers. Don't go anywhere. Back in a moment. All right, making today's show possible and Locked On Tigers postcast being brought to you by Prize Picks. That's right, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. We know we're well into the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs, thankfully, because it's more exciting than watching Tiger baseball. But you can pick more or less on any of your players' projected stat lines, get a little creative with it, maybe combine some NHL picks with some NBA picks. I know the Eastern Conference semifinals, both the series in the Western Conference with the Mavs losing the other night. Tough night at the free throw line for the Mavs against the Oklahoma City Thunder on the ice. The Stars have a commanding lead over the Avalanche, but getting in on the action, it's a lot of fun with Prize Picks. You can get in on the playoff action, win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you see the world's best players take the game to a new level during the NBA postseason. What I love about Prize Picks is the simplicity as well as the ease of use. You don't have to get all complicated. You're not playing against 60 different friends. It's just you versus the projections. Pick more, pick less, then watch the winnings roll in. It's really easy to play. You can submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. I also love the quick and easy withdrawals, easy game playing, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. All of what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app and earned that reputation. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions and specials for the biggest moments in sports. And what I also love, Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account. That's awesome. So be like me, download the app. It's really simple. All you have to do, download the app, use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, you download the Prize Picks apps and you use that code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. Let's keep it going while talking about Reese Olson. I mentioned his run support in throughout his entire season so far. Compliments of our guy Chris Brown over there at Motor City Metrics. But the ERA down to 2.09, really impressive stuff. He's only allowed 32 hits in over 47 innings. That's from Evan Woodbury, also a really good follow on Twitter. And his 6 extra base hits over 109 batters face. Yet he remains winless through 8 starts. That's just insane. And it's honestly a rinse and repeat of what we said the last time Reese Olson was on the mound after that start in Cleveland. Pitchers aren't going to evaluate themselves on the metric of wins and losses, but they're all competitors. And for Reese Olson to pitch this well through 8 innings and have nothing to show for it as far as the wins are concerned, it's got to be disheartening. It's got to be discouraging. And fortunately, he hasn't let it affect or adversely impact the way he goes about his business every 5th day. And the Tigers are fortunate from that sense, but they also are wasting away such a talented rotation. And that's where the slap in the face part comes in it for me. That's how I view this as a fan, is that this organization from a front office point of view was just not serious about winning this year. And that's so painful to come to that realization, come to that reality, because you have no way of changing or forcing an ownership in a front office to care about offense and care about putting together a roster that can score more than it feels like the Tigers are going to score 2 runs a game. And there's just got to be a better way to construct a roster. The payroll was there. The options were out there to add a veteran bat. And for whatever reason, they just refuse to. And this is the result that we get. So curious where you're at as well on that. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're watching the live YouTube stream on Locked On Sports Detroit, would appreciate it if you subscribe as well. It doesn't cost you anything. Matt Wood with the comment, Mize has the fastest swing on the team. So he's got that going for him. Yeah, he has the fastest swing to either wave and miss at everything, or like tonight after the first hit and breaking up a perfect game by Wenzel Perez, the very next pitch, he just grounds it into the dirt for an easy tailor-made double play. So Baez is among a lot of different metrics, just the worst hitter in all of the majors. And there's that's not me saying it because admittedly I am a Javi Baez hater. It's what the stats say. And this offense, top to bottom, is an absolute joke aside from Mark Canha. And, he had one hit today. Vierling had a hit, but just any way you look at it, this Tigers ball club offensively has just been absolutely brutal. And I go back to that game against Cleveland where I said, they scored the 11 runs or whatever it was. Just keep the offense like that and just see if that offense can continue to produce. But just a really, really tough day. I will say there was some comic relief towards the beginning of the game when Skip Shoemaker got ejected, and I put it on Twitter. It was like a carbon copy of when the Yankees manager Aaron Boone got tossed because of what a fan said in the front row above the dugout, and the umpire thought it was him. I think that's exactly what happened with Skip Shoemaker. And for the Marlins to lose the manager early in the game, and it didn't matter because the Tigers weren't scoring any runs, but that was one at least comedic element other than the obvious comedic element of the Tigers offense going up to the plate, because that is just comedy each and every time we try and watch this offense hit. But let me know what you think in the comments about this Tigers team. I think an easy way to phrase it is exactly how my brother put it to me in the text. It's hard to watch this team. It's hard to root for this team. You feel bad for Reese Olson. And then when you get into the extra innings format, and this is a night where I go off about my old man take, get off my lawn, yelling at clouds type of approach. But I hate the runner on second to start the inning. I know it speeds up extra innings, and that's what we're trying to do. But you don't, like, the Marlins shouldn't have gotten that cheap run in the top of the 10th there. And I know it's an unearned run with Alex Lang on the mound, but let's go through that 10th inning. And yes, there was a single in that game, in that inning, but that wasn't even the one that scored the run. It was a fielder's choice that got the run home with Gordon, able to score. Or I beg your pardon, Gordon was the last out. So it was De La Cruz hit the single, or Bell single, De La Cruz to third, and then Sanchez grounded into the fielder's choice. He was safe at first, and then you get the strikeout, and that type of inning shouldn't produce a run. And I know I'm saying this with my team coming out on the short end, but I can't stand the runner on second to start the inning. And maybe if you want to start doing that after the 12th, 13th, okay, fine. Maybe there's a conversation there, but that type of game, I just don't think. Although as I'm saying this out loud, you could make the argument, well, look at the two incompetent offenses going at it. They had to have a runner on second with nobody out, or nobody would have scored. So let's do that in the 12th or the 13th. But that's my old man take, get off my lawn. And the Tigers, even though they start with a runner on second in the 10th, they still can't get a run because that's how bad this offense is. You got Spencer Torkelson. I know he's homered in back-to-back games. That was the first tweet I sent out when I landed late last night. I said, hey, it looks like Torque is so back. But alas, we know how that happens. Foul out to third, which was a nice catch by Gray, I should say. He reached over the railing well there. But Urshela then flies out, and another fly out for Perez. And 0 runs, 0 hits, and the game is over. So just a bunch of goose eggs on the stat sheet for the Tigers tonight. Day game tomorrow, chance to bounce back. How about that, sports fans? The Tigers try to at least make it a 500 3-3 homestand before hitting the road against the Diamondbacks. I almost said Phoenix Diamondbacks. That would not be correct. Arizona Diamondbacks, but a little out west action for the boys after the conclusion of this homestand. Born Cool with the comment says Torque should have went for contact instead of trying to blast his third home run in the 10th. Yeah, he was swinging for the fences. He almost had that bloop lawn dart that just missed the chalk. And that it's not like that was a great display of hitting and a really way to go the other way, even though SEMO or, some of the people would have tried to tell you that it was a really good piece of hitting. It would have been really lucky. And instead he misses the chalk by a couple of blades of grass. And then after that, I knew he was getting out. I think we all did. I think we all knew he's not getting a hit. There's no chance. So that said, we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. And like I said, look ahead to the rest of the homestand and go from there. We'll be right back on this edition of Locked On Tigers Postcast. All right, it's time to tell you guys about my friends at Policy Genius. And I know life insurance isn't exactly the most exciting thing to talk about, but it's an important safety net for your family, and you don't want to find out its importance. You don't want to find that out the hard way, right? We're trying to find the right policy on your own can be really time-consuming and overwhelming. That's where Policy Genius comes in to help. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace, and it saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. Take it from me. I've lost some important people in my life. I know the importance of life insurance. And with Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Let me say that again. Policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. And listen, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Life insurance is not the most exciting thing to talk about, but it is important. And Policy Genius is convenient and time-saving. So if you're like me and you got to do these types of things, you want it to at least be convenient and time-saving. That's where Policy Genius comes in. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk through it all. How about that? The idea of talking through it's really nice. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. They'll even easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to help you find your lowest price and best deal, exactly what you're working for. And you might say, hey, I've got life insurance through work, not so fast. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. And even worse, you might lose it if you decide to take another job. So instead, Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert and support team. No incentive to recommend one insurance over the other. You can trust their guidance. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found their best fit for their needs. Remember, like I said, take it from me. Had some experience with this. Life insurance is important. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. All right, bear with me as we plow through the studs and duds as the Tigers lose to the Miami Marlins 1-0. Another Reese Olson dominant outing wasted. Tigers fall to the even 500 mark, 21-21, 10-12 at home, 12-10 on the road. Or let me do some math again. Sorry about that. 11-9 on the road. There you go, Jake. There you go. But tomorrow will be the conclusion of the 3-game series with the Marlins. And like we said, heading into the series against the Astros, who were really struggling, dropped 2 of 3 to them. an absolutely pivotal rubber match in this one at Comerica Park tomorrow afternoon. You simply got to take at least 2 of 3 and finish the road trip 3-3, or I'm sorry, finish the homestand 3-3 before hitting the road to take on the Diamondbacks and then the Royals. So big one tomorrow. I believe it is Casey Mize on the bump for the Tigers. We'll preview that as we wrap it up. But first, studs and duds. My stud, of course, it's Reese Olson. What another phenomenal outing that is, again, wasted. Stop me if you've heard that one before. But his final line was awesome. And he had the swing and miss stuff working. He was attacking the zone. And credit Jake Rogers, his battery mate. He did a good job of framing some of the lower pitches. He got a shout out from SEMO on that. And they mentioned some metrics that he's one of the better catchers in getting that extra strike called, or that addition, widening the zone by way of the framing. Does a good job behind the dish. I can appreciate a good catcher. Not that anybody cares, but I once played a little catcher myself back in the day from Midland Dow High School. Here we go. Now, that said, here's the actual line that we care about from Reese Olson. 8 innings, 3 hits, did not give up a run, 6 strikeouts, and no walks. Really impressive stuff. Also got to give the stud hat to Ryan Weathers. Also 8 innings, 3 hits, did not give up a run, struck out 4, was perfect through 6, even faced the minimum. Perfect through 5, faced the minimum through 6 when Perez led off with that leadoff single in the 6th, and then Javi Baez right on cue just grounded into a double play. We love that. Duds, everybody, the Tigers offense, the Tigers front office, everybody. Let me hear it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. It's just pick somebody on the offense. That's how bad it was. And it's another 1-0 loss for, again, what feels like the 100th time, whether it's 1-0 or 2-0, or 2-1, this Tigers team just doesn't support their pitching staff. They don't do enough. They're a really average baseball team right now. In fact, probably lucky to be 500 based on the way this team's played. But Andy Ibanez, 0 for 4. Riley Green, 0 for 4. Spencer Torkelson, 0 for 4. Gio Urshela in his first game back, 0 for 4. Perez had the 2 hits, so I guess it's not quite worthy of the stud cap, but when the offense is this bad, and then you have 4 hits in total, and 2 of them are from Wenzel Perez. There you go. Javi Baez, 0 for 3. Jake Rogers, 0 for 3. If the Marlins could have scratched out a run earlier, this game would have been done in less than 2 hours, which is just kind of wild. There we go. Born Cool, glad to have you back. We'll do it again tomorrow. Must-win game. Yep, I sometimes will jokingly argue with the semantics of the word of the phrase must-win game, but I will go ahead and elevate this game to a very, very important game. You got to come away with 2 out of 3 against a really, really bad team in the Miami Marlins to at least salvage a 500 homestand before hitting the road. Oh, man. It is a tough one to swallow all the way around, but appreciate everybody being along for the ride. Thanks for welcoming me back. It's great to be back. I wish we had more of an exciting show to run through on my first day back after some traveling for a family wedding. But here we are. If you haven't yet, subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. We'll be doing these fun postcasts after each and every Tigers game all throughout the season. I want to make it as interactive as possible. So make sure you subscribe. Catch us on the live YouTube streams all season long. And as always, make sure you're checking out Locked On Tigers day in and day out with Scott Bentley. I always love hearing his thoughts on this. And we say a lot of the same things. I mean, I think we think about this baseball team in a similar sense. So we'll have to do a dual show here at after one of these games. We'll have to set that up for sure. And then lastly, as always, thanks so much for making Locked On Tigers Postcast a part of your day. And Casey Mize will be on the bump tomorrow trying to earn the series win against a really, really bad Marlins team. Also, real quick, I want to tell you about Locked On's first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available for the free Fire TV channels app. And there you have it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks so much for your time this evening. Wish we had more exciting things to talk about. Tigers lose 1-0 in 10 innings. Reese Olson, dazzling outing. Once again, wasted 8 innings of shutout baseball. Tigers will try to earn the series win tomorrow with Casey Mize on the bump. It's a day game. Maybe the Tigers will have better luck in the day game. First pitch just after 1. So make sure you join us at the conclusion of that game. We'll be on the air. Until then, have a wonderful evening as always, and we'll talk to you next time on Locked On Tigers Postcast.